Boys need technology. They laughed, selling my future. 10 years later, my manager whispered, "Your parents are here about bankruptcy." I adjusted my Grammy and said, "Tell them the concert hall has a strict no-refunds policy. They should have read the fine print when they sold my future for a gaming chair." I touched the Grammy on my dressing room table. My third one, actually. Best Classical Album, 2 years running. Best New Artist before that. The girl whose parents sold her piano for her brother's Twitch streaming dreams now owned the most prestigious concert hall in New York City. "They're quite insistent," David, my manager, continued. "Your father says it's urgent. Something about losing their house. How tragic. I lost my Juilliard scholarship at 17. We all lose things." Through the monitor, I could see them in the lobby. Mom clutching Dad's arm, both of them looking smaller than I remembered. Behind them, the marble bust of Chopin seemed to judge them as harshly as I did. "Should I call security?" David asked. "No. Let them wait. I have a sold-out show in 2 hours. 20,000 people who actually value what I do." But my hands trembled slightly as I warmed up on the Steinway Model D, one of 12 pianos I now owned. Each one cost more than the house they were about to lose. Each one a monument to the instrument they'd stolen from me. 10 years ago, I was 17 and 3 months away from the most important audition of my life. Juilliard had invited me to compete for their full-ride scholarship, the one they awarded to a single pianist each year. My teacher, Mrs. Chun, had spent months preparing me on the 1920s Baldwin Grand that my grandmother had left me. "This piano has soul," she'd always said. "It knows you. It speaks with your voice." She was right. That piano and I were one entity. Every nuance, every whisper, every thunderous forte, we created them together. I'd practiced 8 hours a day, my fingers mapping every key, every response, every breath of sound that instrument could produce. Then I came home from school to find it gone. Where's my piano? I'd stood in the empty space where it had lived my entire life, the hardwood floor still bearing the marks of its weight. "We sold it," Mom said casually, not even looking up from her laptop. Justin needed a proper gaming setup for his streaming career. "You sold my piano?" "My grandmother's piano." "Don't be dramatic, Allegra. It's just a piano." "It's not just a piano. My Juilliard audition is in 3 months." "You can practice at school," Dad said, emerging from Justin's room where I could hear the aggressive clicking of a mechanical keyboard. "They have pianos there. They have uprights. Old, out-of-tune uprights. I need my piano. The one I've been preparing on for years." "Well, Justin needs this." Mom gestured to the receipt on the counter. "Do you know how much elite gaming equipment costs? Monitor, chair, CPU, graphics cards, almost $15,000. You sold my $15,000 piano for gaming equipment? It's an investment in his future," Dad said firmly. "Justin has 12,000 followers. He could go pro. I already am going pro. I've won every competition in the state. Juilliard is interested in me." "Classical music isn't a career," Mom dismissed. "It's a hobby. A nice hobby, but not practical. Justin's gaming, though, that's the future. Esports. Sponsorships. Real money." "I can't believe this," I'd whispered. "Believe it," Justin had called from his room. "Maybe if you played something people actually wanted to hear, Mom and Dad would invest in you too." That night, I'd sat on my bedroom floor, playing silently on a paper keyboard I'd drawn, my fingers moving through Rachmaninoff's Third without producing a single sound. Muscle memory was all I had left. Mrs. Chun had been horrified when I told her. "They sold your instrument 3 months before Juilliard. They said I could practice on the school pianos." She'd driven me to her house that very day, given me a key to her studio. "My Yamaha isn't your Baldwin, but it's yours to use. Every day. As many hours as you need. I can't pay. You'll pay me by getting into Juilliard." I practiced like a woman possessed. 5 a.m. before school. Lunch breaks. After school until midnight. Weekends, I'd play until my fingers bled, then bandage them and keep going. The Yamaha was a good piano, but it wasn't mine. Every piece I'd perfected had to be relearned, remapped, adjusted for the different touch, different voice. "You're pushing too hard," Mrs. Chun had worried. "I have to. They took my voice. I need to find it again." The day of the Juilliard audition, my parents didn't even offer to drive me to New York. Too busy watching Justin's tournament. "It's a big day for him," Mom had said. "Quarterfinals. Could win $5,000. My audition could win a full scholarship worth $200,000. If you win, When Justin wins, it's guaranteed money. I'd taken the bus. 5 hours of reviewing scores, visualizing fingerings, trying not to think about how different the Juilliard pianos would feel from Mrs. Chen's Yamaha. How much more different from my stolen Baldwin. The audition hall was intimidating. 50 pianists, all brilliant, all desperate for that single scholarship. The piano was a Steinway, gorgeous, perfectly maintained, alien to my touch. I played Chopin's Ballade No. 1, the piece I'd performed 100 times on my Baldwin. But without my piano's familiar response, I was translating in real time, adjusting, compensating. Good, but not transcendent. Technically proficient, but not magical. They gave the scholarship to someone else. Someone who'd had their own piano to practice on. At least you tried, Mom had said when I got home. Now you can focus on something practical. Maybe accounting. I'd enrolled at Manhattan School of Music instead, on a partial scholarship I could barely afford. Worked 3 jobs to pay the rest, accompanying dance classes, playing hotel lobbies, teaching spoiled children who had what I'd lost. You're talented, one of those students' mothers had said, watching me demonstrate a passage. Do you perform professionally? Not yet, I'd said. But I will. I lived on rage and ramen, practiced on whatever pianos I could access, built my technique through sheer stubborn will. Without my own instrument, I learned to adapt instantly to any piano. What had been my weakness became my strength. By graduation, I could make any piano sing. Conductors started noticing. Small orchestras. Then larger ones. I recorded my first album on a borrowed piano in a studio I could barely afford to rent. It went viral on classical music forums, the rawness, the hunger in every note. Who is this? The head of Deutsche Grammophon had asked after hearing it. She plays like she's fighting for her life. Because I am, I'd told him when we met. The contract they offered changed everything. Suddenly I had access to the best pianos in the world. Concert halls. Orchestras. Audiences who wept at the fury and beauty I pulled from the keys. I bought my first piano with my first real check. Not a Baldwin, those were rare, but a Bosendorfer that sang like an angel. Then another. Then another. Each one a voice I'd been denied, a future I'd almost lost. When I bought Carnegie Hall, yes, bought it, the whole building, I kept the news quiet at first. I wanted to transform it before the reveal. Make it a place where young musicians could practice, where talent mattered more than parents who understood its value. Which brings us to tonight. The grand reopening of Carnegie Hall under my ownership. Renamed the Chun Center, after the teacher who saved me. Every practice room free for students. Every concert subsidizing music education for kids whose parents didn't believe in their dreams. Miss Allegra? David knocked. 15 minutes to showtime. And, your parents are still waiting. Send them in, I said finally. 5 minutes. They entered like they were walking into a principal's office. Mom's designer clothes had seen better days. Dad's shoes were worn at the heels. Behind their pride, I saw desperation. Allegra, Mom started. You look like someone who owns Carnegie Hall? Yes, I know. We saw the news, Dad said. Your success. We're so proud. No, you don't get to be proud. You sold my future for Justin's gaming setup. How'd that work out, by the way? They exchanged glances. He struggled. The gaming industry is very competitive. Unlike classical music? How shocking. He's working at Best Buy now, Mom admitted. Selling the equipment he thought would make him famous. Poetic. And now you're here because... The house, Dad said quietly. We took loans. For his equipment. His streaming room. His dreams. The bank is foreclosing. So sell something. Maybe Justin's setup. It's worthless now. Technology moves so fast. What cost $15,000 is worth maybe $500. Funny thing about pianos, I said, running my fingers over my Grammy. They hold their value. That Baldwin you sold? Worth $40,000 now. Could have saved your house twice over. We didn't know. You didn't care. You had a daughter accepted to Juilliard, and you sold her instrument for a gaming chair. You made your choice. Please, Mom begged. We're family. Family. I laughed. Family invests in each other's dreams. Family shows up to auditions. Family believes in talent even when it plays classical music instead of Fortnite. One loan, Dad pleaded. We'll pay it back. With what? Justin's Twitch revenue. I stood, my concert gown rustling. You know what the worst part was? Not losing the piano. It was hearing you laugh when you said boys need technology. Like my dreams were a punchline. Like my talent was worthless because of my gender. We were wrong. Yes, you were. And now you're bankrupt, while I'm about to play for 20,000 people on a piano worth more than your house. So you won't help? I'll help. The same way you helped me. I'll give you the name of the pawn shop where you sold my grandmother's piano. Maybe they'll buy something of yours. Oh wait, you have nothing of value left. I moved toward the door, then paused. Actually, I do have something for you. I pulled out 2 tickets. Tonight's concert. Orchestra seats. You can sit there and listen to what you almost destroyed. Listen to every note you tried to silence. Listen to the career you said wasn't practical. Allegra. After the concert, there will be donors. Philanthropists. People who believe in supporting young musicians. Sit with them. Tell them your story. Tell them how you sold your daughter's piano for gaming equipment. Maybe they'll find it as amusing as you did. They took the tickets with shaking hands. One more thing, I said. The piano I'm playing tonight? It's a Baldwin. From 1920. I tracked it down 5 years ago, bought it from the collector who'd purchased it from the pawn shop. Cost me $300,000 to get it back. Mom gasped. That's right. The $15,000 piano you sold for Justin's toys is now worth 20 times that. And tonight it comes home. Tonight it plays Carnegie Hall. Tonight it proves that boys might need technology, but girls? Girls need parents who believe in them. We're sorry, Dad whispered. No, you're poor. There's a difference. I left them there and walked to the stage where my grandmother's Baldwin waited, gleaming under the lights. The same keys I'd learned on. The same voice they'd tried to silence. 20,000 people rose as I entered. The thunder of their applause filled the hall my parents had said would never welcome me. I sat at my piano, and began to play. Chopin's Ballade No. 1. The piece that should have won me Juilliard. But this time, on the instrument that knew me, that had always known me, it was perfect. Every note a declaration. Every phrase a victory. Somewhere in the orchestra seats, my parents sat surrounded by people who'd paid $1,000 a ticket to hear what they'd sold for $15,000. The math was devastating. The music was divine. During intermission, I watched from backstage as donors approached them, curious about the parents of the famous Allegra fortune. I watched them try to explain how they'd sold my piano. Watched faces turn from interest to horror. Watched my parents shrink with each telling. Your daughter succeeded despite you, I heard one philanthropist say coldly. Imagine what she could have achieved with your support. The second half was all Rachmaninoff. The pieces I'd played silently on my paper keyboard the night they'd sold my voice. Now they roared through Carnegie Hall, complex and furious and triumphant. The standing ovation lasted 12 minutes. I took my bows, clutched my flowers, and met my parents in the green room after. That was transcendent, Mom said quietly. Yes, it was. No thanks to you. The house, Dad started, will be foreclosed. You'll start over. Maybe Justin can sell you a gaming setup to help you cope. You're really going to let us lose everything? I lost everything at 17. And look where it led me. I gestured to the hall, the crowds, the life they'd tried to deny me. Maybe losing everything will teach you to value what matters. They left, shoulders bowed, to face their bankruptcy. I returned to my piano, my grandmother's piano, and played an encore for the lingering crowd. Later, David found me still at the keys, playing softly in the empty hall. The Times wants a quote about tonight's performance, he said. Tell them this. My parents sold my piano for my brother's gaming setup because boys need technology. Tonight, I played that same piano in the hall I now own. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's proving yourself right, $200,000 per concert at a time. That's quite a quote. It's quite a story. I covered the keys gently, saying goodnight to the instrument that had been stolen from me and somehow found its way back. Tomorrow, it would be moved to my penthouse where it belonged. Where it had always belonged. My parents had laughed when they sold my future for my brother's gaming setup. 10 years later, they'd sat in my concert hall, wearing bankruptcy like a scarlet letter, watching me adjust my Grammy and wondering how they'd been so wrong about which child to bet on. The answer was simple. They'd confused noise with music, trends with talent, games with greatness. And now the music they'd tried to silence filled the most famous concert hall in America, while the gaming setup they'd invested in gathered dust in a Best Buy employee's childhood bedroom. The piano they'd sold for $15,000 had bought them a single night of humiliation in orchestra seats they couldn't afford. But for me, It had bought a lifetime of proving that the only technology I'd ever needed was 88 keys and the rage to make them sing.